Hi everybody, welcome to At Home with the Astro Wizard. We're going to be talking about astrology today, and what I do in the course of this piece is I usually talk about the upcoming month, and I usually do it at the new moon. You might notice I'm starting late this month. That's kind of on purpose because I wanted to time it with Lamas and the high summer. So happy high summer, everybody. Did you know some interesting facts before we get started with Mercury retrograde and the outer planets and Venus and Mars and Jupiter and talking about what's going on? But before we do that, a little bit of lore because I love this part. Um, did you know that the highest summer is at the summer solstice, and then after that it's a waning time. So actually, even though we're at maximum sunlight or maximum heat and all that, the days are already waning once we get into the sun in Leo. But high summer, Lamas, is the first harvest, and that's usually the first week in August. And different cultures have slightly different dates on that. It should be August 7th, but a lot of times we celebrate it on the 1st because we're digital in this culture. Well, speaking of digital, Mercury is. I just should mention high summer is the time of summer games, joy, fun, celebration, and that goes with the sun in Leo, and that goes with some of the other planets that we're seeing right now. So, but speaking of our brains and all that, Mercury during this time is in Leo, but it's retrograde. So what about that? People have a hard time with Mercury retrograde because we tend to have a very mental, mercutial society that we're dealing with, and 80 or 90% of us are ruled by Mercury, or have a very strong Mercury in our chart. And the other ones of us we probably don't know so much about because they're off doing something else and not watching a video on YouTube right now. So Mercury in Leo, and yet it's retrograde until about August 10th, and it's part of the yearly cycle. So when you see retrograde in the chart, it's like an RX, and it's the same as what people think is the Rexall thing, or associated with drugs and that kind of thing. Um, well, there's a reason for that because astrology used to be strongly linked with medical astrology and other branches of it. They were all one thing. So people who are studying medicine in the Middle Ages, they were also studying astrology. And there was, the one of the large plagues was blamed on the conjunction of Mars, Jupiter, and Mars, Jupiter, and Saturn, and this happens every so often, and it happened right at the beginning of the pandemic, and basically astrologers were made fun of because oh, look at that, they actually believe that this caused the the Black Plague, but it's a chicken and egg thing. It's like the stars, the planets, they provide a symbolic view of what's going on. And so we can take that raw material and it energizes us and stimulates us to different actions. So when we first are born, we take in our first breath and we imprint on the electromagnetism of that time. And so what happens is that we reflect that moment and in our doings. And so we're stimulated by our natures, we're stimulated by our environment, we're stimulated by the sun and moon, and then all the planets are also kind of making their ways known. So this month, Mercury retrograde, but and I should mention I'm doing this for the month of August this time. And so Mercury is retrograde right now, but it will come out of retrograde on the 10th. Meanwhile, it'll be in Leo for about 2 months. And Mercury in Leo is very much about fun, about communications that are fun, about planning the party, if you will. But The drawback, perhaps, the Mercury being retrograde in Leo, is that whole dynamic of over planning or over expecting something and the drama that may happen from that. Um, so, Mercury being in Leo for a while, it's not necessarily the most mentally stimulated time, but it is a time of communication and networking and people. Um, but what's going to happen is when it comes out of retrograde, this will become more real for us because soon after that, Mars will enter Libra, and there will be an alignment that happens. Now, I should say, as a real astrologer, the word alignment always triggers me because people say that if if planets are just lined up in the sky, which is totally valid, but it's not the same as like a conjunction. Um, so so I'm using this carefully because alignment is indeed what we have going on here. If we want to play with our orbs a little bit, I love that, playing with our orbs. You can make a joke about that. But if we wanted to, manipulate things just a little bit in terms of a wider breach of energy, we have a grand hexagon coming up within a few days. So about August 3rd through elements of it going through about the 10th, the 12th, the 14th, with various planets going through that point of Leo. But what's going on the other end? What's going on is we have, yes, a grand alignment. So basically you have Pluto, beginning of Aquarius. Then you have Saturn conjunct Neptune, beginning of Aries. Then you have Uranus, beginning at the beginning of Gemini, and all these have changed signs this year. So this is very significant that we're dealing with a different society, a different set of parameters than we were a few months ago. Now, the first part of that, this alignment, these, all the outer planets moving together, first part of that is the chaos that we've been experiencing socially, politically, morally, even, and so this is going to basically. I've always felt that the other shoe was going to drop, and at some point, after this August 10th point, and probably more like next year, we're going to see the backlash to all the energy that we're experiencing that during this politically dark time. I don't want to go further with that because what I believe as an astrologer is that all Dharma is individual, and I'd rather be talking to you about your personal reading and about your options and all that rather than commenting on politics. So I will continue. So basically, Uranus moving into Gemini has to do with basically a new way of looking at the mind, new forms of communication and so forth. Yes, it's going to stimulate AI. It's going to stimulate other things we can't even dream of right now. It's a 7-year passage that has just begun. Uranus slips back into, and it's not Uranus, sorry. Uranus moves back into Taurus as it's going retrograde, and it doesn't even come out of retrograde until February. So basically we have to vision the new dawn, but then do some legwork, some grounding work in order to get there. Neptune and Saturn are both have both recently moved into Aries at the spring equinox, and Saturn is our commitment, our grounding. Neptune is our dreaming. They come together once every 35 years. And when they do, the dream, the vision changes, but it evolves, So last time that they came together, the Berlin Wall fell. A lot of world events changed, and there was a lot of insight that came out of that afterwards. Not about the politics, but about society elevating with the dream. And so there's a lot of the dream going on right now. And so Saturn, Neptune, but the thing is that Neptune can make things really foggy. So both of them moving into retrograde, and they both go back into Pisces. So what have we not learned yet? So we're motivating towards the new, and yet there's still some work to do. Pluto also went into Aquarius. It's retrograding, but it's not going to go back into Capricorn, which is good news. So 15 years of Pluto in Aquarius, which in the course of that is going to bring in a lot of what's dear to our hearts as far as people coming together in a deeper level. But that's not the chapter we're reading right now. So these planets aligning, Pluto, then sextile Neptune, Saturn, then sextile Uranus in Gemini, trine Pluto, trine Uranus, lots of upheaval right now, lots of change and all that. And then a trigger point happens with Mercury and the Sun and so forth being opposite that in Leo, opposite Pluto in Aquarius, in trine with Uranus, or in sextile with Uranus, forming what is known as a mystic. It's a mystic kite, so it's basically cutting through the resistance. So we're going to see things be reshuffled in the near future. But on an individual level, this is a time for celebration. This is a time for kindling your spirit. It's like soak up as much sun as you can, and that's astrological advice. That's not just about getting a tan. I'm talking about taking in the high energy of fun, games, and enjoyment, so that we can go through the next really intense steps to come. Because this planetary configuration goes around the whole wheel, where Mars moving into Libra is going to change things again around the 10th of the month, and Mars will do two things. Two things will happen. Mars moving into Libra will tonify and harmonize our relationships, but towards the middle of the month, there's a little bit of Mars square Venus, and there's going to be a reorientation of how we provide our strengths and how we surrender to others, and a real give and take there. And then Mars in square with Jupiter at the end of the month, and that means kind of biting off more than you can chew, and a little bit too much to have happen. I should mention about Jupiter. Jupiter is Cancer. That's home and family. That is our roots and what nurtures us with our family. And that's going to go on for a whole nother year, with lots of interplay in there. So there's a lot to look forward to. The planets are all over the place. And in your personal map, it really matters which one is really affecting you right now, because it's such a cornucopia, and it's such a time of change. And so now is the best time to get a reading and integrate all this stuff. Don't worry about getting a reading when Mercury's retrograde, because that's the necessary inhale. That RX is not doesn't mean Rexall or anything. It means remedy. So the remedy is the exhale. The remedy is the retrograde. The remedy is allowing us to go full circle and integrate what we already knew. So signing off with that, and get your personal reading, and let's talk.